Hey, welcome to Graphic Policy Television, GPTV. I'm Brett, and my hands is The Walking Dead Deluxe, number 96. This is a very interesting series, a very interesting issue. So the series is a reprint of the original Walking Dead, except this time in color. There's also a little background with notes from Robert Kirkman about his kind of outline for the issue, and he discusses the outline about how things wound up. It's written by Robert Kirkman, art by Charlie Adlard, colored by Dave McCaig, lettering by Rus Wooton. Alright, so this wraps up the latest story arc. As Kirkman puts it, this is the end of the second compendium, the fourth omnibus, 8th hardcover, and 16th trade. These are things he keeps track of. And this is a huge issue. Is the finale of A Larger World, Part 4 of 4. Rick and his crew has gone to the hilltop. They have seen the hilltop, they've met Gregory, and they've learned the threat that is Negan, deciding to maybe cut a deal and take care of Negan for Hilltop in exchange for supplies. Basically, protect Hilltop, and they get the supplies instead of Negan. It's an interesting issue, and I think it's an interesting issue because of the ending. Rick gives, like, a 7-page speech. It's long. Let's see here. I can tell you exactly how many. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... 6, 7, yeah. Pretty much 7 pages worth. It builds up, but there's 5 of just Rick talking. 7 pages worth of Rick talking and seeing his vision. That he sees Hilltop as like a potential for actual society. That it's not about surviving, it's now about living, and now actually building a society that can protect itself, and kids can grow up and you know, actually have a future. So his question is, why are they like living? Why are they doing what they're doing if they aren't here to actually build a society and build towards something? I think it's a really, really interesting issue for many, many reasons. Now, for those who have watched the earliest reviews, so when The Walking Dead originally came out, we're in, of course, a very different world. While, yeah, the economy was rocky and shaky, and there was a lot of questions about that, we actually dealt with the threat of terrorism. That's really what I think a lot of this, the trepidation, the fear of what's coming tomorrow, came from. As always, a lot of horror films, a lot of horror stories are reflections about societal issues. You know, there's stuff about, you know, whatever, Living Dead, having to deal with consumerism or communism, all that stuff. It's a tradition, and it's a great way to discuss issues without, like, directly discussing issues. What I thought was interesting about rereading The Walking Dead is we're no longer really fearing about terrorism. We now have a fear of living in a world of COVID. We're in a world of pandemics, of constant fear of what's coming next, of evolving mutations. Mpox came up for a little bit. That seems to maybe have gone away, but at least we got vaccines already for that. But I think generally, I think it's really interesting. It was interesting to reread The Walking Dead and the beginning of it with that reflection of COVID. And the reason I say that is because I think it's really interesting to see, you know, the failure of government, just like it did here, how small groups banded together to survive, and then you had other groups who just said, fuck it, and were a thorn for those trying to survive. And that theme kind of went on for quite a while. What I think it's interesting here is, of course, we get the theme of government failing, but I think Rick's got a point of, like, what is tomorrow? Like, how do we take this disaster and build towards something? Like, how do we make this a more equitable, fair world? Like, we see the clashes all, like, happening. Like, not only do we have, like, the COVID deniers, we have the conspiracy theorists, but we have people who just have absolutely no consideration for those around them. I had friends who've passed away from COVID and COVID complications, like, multiple friends. So it's something I take serious. Like, I've had it. I've had it at least once, and it sucked, and it took me, like, a month and a half to recover. It's something I never want to experience again. I wear masks and try to be somewhat safe when I go into crowds and areas I don't know. Like, that is the way to mitigate it for me and protect myself and protect those around me. It's something I'm concerned about. It's something I care about. And I think Rick is got an interesting point of this, is we've had this disaster. We've all kind of, like, wandered through it. Where do we go from here? How do we build off of this? How do we build a world that is better than the one we came from? and how do we get things going to actually build a society. And I think it's a fascinating read, and partially because, you know, we have those who are still working against it. As I said, you get COVID deniers, you get people just have absolutely no regard, but you also have corporations fighting against what we've seen as a better society. Amazon just recently said workers have to come in 5 days a week. There's no freaking reason people have to be in an office and commute an hour to go to, you know, each way to go to work. It increases costs, increases pollution, it increases traffic, it makes people miserable just so people can go supposedly talk face to face, but really it's to, one, justify middle management whose entire job is to watch those people, but two, it's actually to justify their investment in businesses and in business locations and offices. They just cut major deals for new headquarters, and those headquarters are reliant on a certain amount of people being in those offices. That's why they're actually going, forcing people to be in 5 days a week. Now I say that because we have seen a better society. We've seen that people can work from home, that people can work telecommute, and that actually there is productivity that is increases. Many companies increase. You don't believe me? Corporate profits are up. Yes, it is by price gouging, but if corporate, if telecommuting and all that it didn't work, corporate prices would not be, or corporate profits would not be the way they are, and corporations wouldn't be as efficient as the way they are. Many corporations, of course, when that happened, said, hey, this is great, and people are doing awesome, and that's before prices started getting jacked up and profits started going up. The profits went up before, just from people telecommuting and being more efficient and working their asses off. So to me, Amazon is part of that Negan force, is part of the group that is trying to fuck up the hilltop and this nice community that we've got, and jack things up because, you know, they think they're the tough guys. Rick sees things differently, and I think it's a really fascinating thing. You know, it's interesting is that he says at the end. And I want to get the quote exactly right, because this is what stands out to me. Is he says, we can finally stop surviving and start living. I feel like there are people who are trying to get us to the point where we can start living and stop surviving. We have Ricks out there. We need to listen to them. And I think that's where, to me, this long rant, this Walking Dead is getting really interesting again, is that it really is somehow reflecting our survival in a post-COVID world, and, you know, we need Ricks. We need people who are fighting for us to be living and not just surviving. I think we have far too many corporations, politicians, everyone that just wants us to survive. We need to live. That means a fundamental look at our society, at businesses, at our infrastructure, everything, and rethinking about how to do it in a way that people can be comfortable and survive the way they need to survive. Long rant over. Needless to say, that is the short way of me saying is, I can see it reflecting on what's going on in the world again after all that. Art is always fantastic. It is really, really solid. The comic is, it hit its stride. It had its look. I think it's great with the color. It really doesn't distract. I'm kind of waiting to see that issue 100 and see all hell breaking loose if that finally distracts. But I think the color really adds something, especially this issue with some moody points. Yeah, I'm sure I'm going to get some downvotes for this video. I don't really give a shit, but you can go get this. I think the series is fantastic as always. It's really fun to go reread it as single issues. If you've never read it, this is a great opportunity to do it. It's about every 2 weeks. So you can go get yours. It's out in comic shops. We've got a link beneath this video. Put in your zip code. It'll tell the comic shops near you. No shop, no problem. We have some links where you can purchase your own. There'll be affiliate links, so we do get a small percentage. By doing that, you help support our site. So thank you. Just watch our videos, support us. So thank you for that. If you're into comics, check us out every day at graphicpolicy.com. We're on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Tumblr, Instagram, TikTok, Mastodon, Threads, Blue Sky, all at Graphic Policy, keeping it nice and consistent. Until next time, keep reading those comics and keep it geeky. Hey, thanks for watching the previous video from Graphic Policy Television. Just by watching, you help support our site. Thank you so much. Now, if you're watching these videos, you probably care about geeky things like movies, television, comic books, toys, games, video games, you name it. You can go and subscribe right now to our YouTube channel to stay in touch and catch all the new videos, or check out our website at graphicpolicy.com. There's a nice link on this end of the video. But as always, thank you for watching. Keep on rocking and keep it geeky.